Welcome to the Rhode Island Clinical Educator Development Module 1, The Basics of Being a Clinical Educator. These modules were funded with a grant from the Collaboration for Effective Educator Development, Accountability, and Reform, and the Rhode Island Cedar State Leadership Team. This module series was created during the statewide shift from student teaching to residency. In these modules, you will hear the term student teaching only. Please understand that the information shared in these modules is applicable to all final full-time field experiences of educator preparation programs, including student teaching, residency, and final internships. You will see these two graphics periodically. When you see the stop sign, that is an indication that we would like you to pause the video and reflect on the concept being discussed. When you see the toolkit sign, that means there is an accompanying resource that will support you in your work with student teachers. This is Module 1, The Basics of Being a Clinical Educator. Other modules in this series include Module 2, Coaching to Bring Out the Best in Your Student Teacher, and Module 3, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging in Educator Preparation. These modules are designed as a baseline training for teachers who would like to host candidates from any educator preparation program, but are not designed to replace any training that individual universities may require or provide. This general information module encompasses policies and procedures from all educator preparation programs in Rhode Island. You can find program-specific information through your candidate and their university supervisor. Each program runs a bit differently, but there are some commonalities that are useful to know regardless of what program or university you are working with. Thank you for watching. We hope this video is helpful to you as you start your journey as a clinical educator. There are common expectations of clinical educators across educator preparation programs. This list of expectations was created by educator preparation programs in collaboration with pre-K-12 districts to be used to build a statewide foundational understanding of the roles and responsibilities of clinical preparation in Rhode Island. In addition to the basic requirements of having 3 years of teaching practice and certification in an applicable level and content and district administration support, here are a few additional characteristics of qualified clinical educators. A clinical educator is a Rhode Island educator who models practice consistent with the Rhode Island professional teaching standards, uses a variety of culturally responsive instructional practices, demonstrates the capacity to have a positive impact on student learning, has a teaching practice that promotes equity, is committed to actively supporting teacher candidates, models professional and appropriate communication skills as evidenced in all aspects of the work with students, families, community partners, and colleagues, exposes the teacher candidate to all aspects of the role of teaching, including access to confidential information, knowledge of FERPA and HIPAA, involvement in special education processes, classroom and district technology, and classroom routines and materials. Before we get started, we'd like you to stop and reflect on your own student teaching. What parts of that experience were most memorable for you? Here are a few messages from local administrators on the importance of hosting educator candidates.
The value I see in having student teachers in the building comes from the fact that learning is at the center of what we do. And so as a school, you would hope that the process of learning is something that extends beyond, of course, the kids in the classroom, but also extends to the professionals. As a student teacher, starting out in the profession, obviously there's a lot of learning happening with observing class and with eventually taking over in a class. And with a mentor teacher, I think it also comes into play in terms of how to communicate the skills that we hope to see our educators demonstrating when they're in the room. So to me, it just kind of adds to the learning culture in your building, and that can be a really powerful thing.
I think for a district, you're really looking at the best and brightest that the universities and colleges in Rhode Island have to offer, and you're matching them up, hopefully, with your best and brightest inside the district. And so you're continuing that model of success by attaching these students to really good mentors to show them the best practices in education.
We've set a culture in place where I think the cooperating teachers clearly are leaders that we want these student teachers to work with, and they work their magic of making sure that others are befriending them, that they're supported, they're part of common planning time, they're part of, if you're a science teacher, they're hanging out with the other science teachers in that department. So it's creating that culture of community that says we're here to support you because we believe the greatest asset are our people, and it's our obligation to invest in them. And I think for student teachers even more so, you get them in right at the start and you show them that this is a caring, welcoming environment that supports and invests in you. They're going to want to stay.
Typically, when those student teachers do a really good job, if we have openings in the district, we know firsthand what we're getting. So of course they would go through an application process, we post a position, however we know what we're getting and they know our district intimately, and that just puts them so much further ahead than just hiring someone that you don't know. So I think having a robust cooperative relationship with all the universities is important for any district because you are getting a pipeline of people that you could potentially hire as substitutes and or teachers.
Getting good candidates out of the college ranks is critical to maintaining good schools.
For me, it's just about creating the conditions that shows them that they are valued and welcomed, and that this is a long-term relationship that we want to build with them, not just a 16-week type of thing, and then they go somewhere else.
This module will address 4 key questions. What are the benefits of being a clinical educator? I accepted a student teacher. Now what? What do the timeline and logistics look like? How do I work with the prep program and the university supervisor? What are the benefits of being a clinical educator?
If you have never had a student teacher, get one. It is just an amazing experience. You are going to learn from them so much. They bring so much to the table. They bring you new practices. They make everything fresh. It's just the most amazing experience. You just learn so much from them, and you as an educator can give so much to them.
The value that I get is that I get to pass along my passion of teaching. And over the past couple of weeks with Olivia being in my classroom, I've definitely seen a lot of my teaching style and what she's doing with her teaching and her lessons, and that's really cool to be able to pass on what I enjoy to someone else new to the career. Not only do I get to pass on my passion of teaching, but I'm also learning a lot from her too.
I always tell my students in the classroom that I learn as much from them as I hope they learn from me. And I feel the same way with student teachers. It keeps me connected to the whole process.
It made me excited to teach again, and it made me excited to want to work with someone younger and develop them, because you don't always get that. It's invigorating. It makes me think about my lessons. It's always, everything's reflective in teaching, and I think having a student teacher too, but when you emphasize how much reflection is important for them to do as they go through the process, it helps me remember I need to reflect on what I'm doing, and some of those conversations really help.
So I think there's a lot of value to having a student teacher in your room so that you can reflect back upon your own teacher, because I think reflecting on your own teaching is the best way to be a good teacher.
I accepted a student teacher. Now what?
I met with my clinical educator before the school year started on one of the professional development days. And prior to that, we had a phone call just to introduce ourselves and to schedule a meeting.
When the student teachers start, I like to have a conversation about what times school starts, what you should wear to school, what you should look like, how you should act. I don't necessarily need to give all the rules on the first day, because I feel like student teachers need to sort of work their way into it. When I'm preparing for a student teacher to arrive in my classroom, the most important thing to me is to make sure that when they get to the classroom, they feel comfortable. They feel part of the classroom, they feel part of the community, they understand the environment that they're in. I like to have a space for them. It doesn't necessarily mean that they need pencils and pens, it just means they need a space for their belongings, it needs a space for them to feel comfortable, they need a space to just be a teacher.
On the very first day, she made me feel very comfortable. She introduced me to her colleagues as well as the principal. She gave me a tour of the school.
First, I will give them a tour of the facilities to hopefully get them comfortable. Of course, they're going to forget things and we'll have to lead them around. Then I really like to introduce them to a number of our colleagues. One of the most important things to learn as a student teacher is that the best support is going to come from your colleagues.
I think that is so important. Every single staff member counts within a school. I was able to meet my grade level co-teachers and obviously administrator, but I think that it goes deeper than that. You should introduce them to the office clerks, janitor staff. Every single person that works in the school works to make it the school, the community.
And so I want them to develop that collegiality, that it's okay to talk to somebody else, even outside of the discipline, because they can oftentimes provide some sort of perspective.
Whether it's levels of students, special education classes, ESL, a variety of different things, language, math, so they can see how different teachers approach different subjects. And I think that allows them from a well-rounded idea, and they can see different classroom management techniques that might help them as they're going and progressing through your classroom too.
I would say that that helped me to feel welcome, helped me to feel comfortable and safe asking questions to any faculty member. I would say that also modeling for me, showing me this is how we do this, this is where I keep this in a classroom. The basics that you don't realize are so important. So I would say that clinical educators should take a step back and really think about the most minuscule things that are just so important about being in a school, being in a classroom, and show them to their student teacher when they're starting.
What do the timeline and logistics look like?
I know from my perspective coming in as a student teacher, I just didn't want to step on anybody's toes. And I know like now that I'm in the teacher position, if somebody comes into my room, I'm like, yeah, I just want you to jump in, like do whatever you want. But like understanding that the student teacher, like that's a lot out of their comfort zone really quickly, to just kind of encouraging them through that and not just like getting frustrated, like, oh, they're not jumping in and they're not just taking over everything right away, like understanding and being empathetic that your student teacher might not feel 100% comfortable right away.
My clinical educator wanted the transition to be a very much, she starts, I slowly take over certain lessons, I'm in charge, and then she takes the reins again. So what we did is it started with the observations the semester prior. So I had an idea of how she ran things, her schedule.
After introducing them to the facilities and then having them come in and to observe some of the classes, both mine and others, just to get them used to be in the classroom, we'll do that for a couple of weeks to get them comfortable. Then what we'll do is after the day is done, we'll have a debrief where I'll ask them about what they saw, what they thought went well, what they thought did not go well. And then we will get them out to see other classes as well, so they get a variety of teaching styles, and we'll keep talking. And when they can start seeing themselves in the classroom at the head, that's when I know.
Sometimes student teachers are ready to move faster than other student teachers, right? So you can take cues from body language, you can take cues from their energy level, I can take cues from the way that the students are reacting. Sometimes student teachers are just flat out tired of observing, and I can just know when they're ready to go. It's sort of a feeling you get when they're ready to jump in, and some are ready sooner than others. That is also something that the student teacher and the teacher sort of like work on together.
As I was beginning into the weeks, she would have me do just the math problem of the day. So I was like, okay, here's my daily thing. I'm doing the math problem of the day. And it kind of made me feel comfortable because even though I was only in charge of something that took 15 minutes of the day, I felt pride in it. I felt like I am creating something, I'm designing what these students are doing for their math problem of the day. Then it became morning meeting and math problem of the day. Math lesson, math problem of the day, morning meeting, until I would go from doing the math lesson, the ELA lesson, the science lesson, to all of it.
One of the biggest things for me is once I know you're comfortable, the kids are comfortable, and there's respect that's happening between them, is for me to actually remove myself from the situation. Because with me being in the classroom, even if it's 5 minutes, students will always default back to me being in the classroom. So it never truly allows the student teacher to begin to kind of develop and flourish and take command of the classroom and get the students to be working with how they want them to work. So it's tough for teachers to relinquish that, particularly a second semester after you've already set up your norms and your parameters for the previous semester. A student teacher comes in, it's tough to maybe kind of step back, but have trust in them, talk to them.
How do I work with prep programs and the university supervisor?
College supervisors and I like to keep lines of communication, usually through email, and everyone that I've ever worked with at any college has been terrific.
What kind of supports did I get from the college supervisor? Usually it comes in the form of, one, getting to know something about the student teacher even beforehand, telling me about what they can do well, what they might need help in. And then as the college supervisor comes in, we would have the opportunity to talk about what they would like to see in terms of improvement so that I would know what to focus on with the student teacher as well.
So I see my role as a conduit between the sites and our training of our teachers. So I try to adjust what I'm doing to both meet the needs of the schools and meet the needs of our students. And I think sometimes it's in a leadership role, sometimes it's a mediator role, sometimes it's in just purely a support role to try to get both comfortable with the process and working with each other and getting the best, basically getting the best out of both of them.
Working with the college supervisor immediately after an observation and being included in that conversation, I really thought allowed myself and my student teacher to be able to kind of achieve the goals that we're all working towards, which is to get them to be a successful and confident teacher. And that type of dialogue with the college supervisor, really helped the three of us set goals.
Communication is really important. If you can bring in a person who you both share trust with, that can do an observation in the space, say some things that they're noticing, and engage in your reflective practice as a sort of positive third wheel.
I've had a lot of student teachers, and fortunately I can only think of one occasion where there was some pushback. Speaking to the college supervisor really helped a lot. When issues came up, usually a discussion with the college supervisor would put things back on track. But otherwise, it was nice to hear from the college supervisor the same sort of observations that I was making in the classroom. So it's confirmation that we're going along in the right direction.
So that very open dialogue, I think, really leads to a very good, positive environment. So reach out, email. If you have a question, shoot the college supervisor a question, because it just makes things that much clearer in a very short amount of time where a lot's being done.
You've heard several great things that you can do to welcome a candidate into your classroom and school. Please see the Preparing for a Student Teacher checklist on this website for more guidance. If you're interested in becoming a clinical educator, contact your principal or district administrator to find out how your school or district assigns clinical educators. When you are assigned as a clinical educator, the University Teacher Prep Program will provide additional guidance, information, and resources. The information included in these slides is intended to be introductory and general, and was gathered through our professional practice in teacher preparation. Please contact your Rhode Island Educator Preparation partners for more information on any of the included topics. Thank you to all of those who have contributed interviews, expertise, and time into creating these modules.